So I just got back with Joe and Ed here on the line from a pretty epic week of bear hunting. For Ed and I, it was our first time ever doing it. And so I haven't told Jared much about this hunt.
Zero.
Saving it for tonight. And he's been begging me to tell him any kind of information.
Not a beg. More like a, hey, I can't wait to talk.
It was
should have just came with.
I know.
You know what?
Just
We've talked about this already. I had prior engagements that I had no recollection of that planning actually happening.
No, it was there. It just you're like, nah, I just am kind of scared of bears.
Yeah, dude. Bears.
There was room for you in the truck. We could have scooted over a little
There
bit.
was. We rode 3 wide. Oh, let's jump in. So we flew to Minneapolis, flew into Montana, got there fairly early in the afternoon, and the van we had rented, the Uhaul, got swapped out for a single row of seats pickup truck.
Mm-hmm.
So we drove all around western Montana 3 wide, running 3 wide the whole time. I was middle guy
Stick
for the
shift?
most part. I was the stick guy. I told every
In the
time he
middle?
held the clutch, I just kind of worked it around.
Gross.
It's like he's done it before.
Yeah, he's no stranger.
Oh, Ed's drinking.
Oh,
Now I feel like
I'm nervous.
are you? Yeah. All of our.
You're not drinking, Joe?
That's the problem.
I'm hunting tonight. As soon as we're done with this.
Are you really? Little coyote action.
Yeah, my buddy got a new lease kind of over by Hastings, so we're gonna go camp there tonight. Coyote hunt it tonight and turkey hunt in the morning.
That is a heck of a.
Well, on your
24
way
hours.
out to Hastings, stop on by.
Yeah.
Say what up.
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of on the way.
We're
from,
in door. It smells like door right now on the
Dude.
way in. I open my
door
windows.
is danky right now.
It is.
Spreading shit out there.
Everywhere.
Yeah. It's known for that smell, door.
Yeah. Well,
It could
I
be
wanna-
like that here too, but I wouldn't know it. Still no
You can't
sense.
smell 'em. That's
Cold-
probably why he was
COVID?
able to put up with me in the tent or in like the car in a closed space so much. He had no sense of smell, and I was eating those mountain meals, and that gets ugly.
you know that
There
You
was
ever-
an aroma in the air, but I couldn't tell what it was.
It was probably Ed.
when you're gutting a deer and you accidentally like nick the stomach.
I've never done that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the smell of James after 2 days of hunting. It's a pungent, Jim.
Yeah.
What's up? We are going to thank a few of these sponsors that help make this beautiful show a reality for all of you. So
Yeah.
here we go. So a big reason, I would say, to why we're so successful and we have so many bucks on the wall is because we use HuntWise. HuntWise is a GPS mapping app that you can download on any phone, any platform. You can look up public land huntings, ORV trails. You can get the weather. They actually have a HuntCast 2.0 that they teamed up with Jeff Sturgis to make. It's awesome. You need to check this thing out. Go to HuntWise, download the app.
I feel like if you go into the woods without optics, it's like going into the woods without pants on. Would you agree with that?
To a point.
To a point. We are huge fans of running binoculars, spotting scopes, and different things when we hunt, even whitetail. I bring binoculars out every time I go. We choose Vortex Optics because they make the best glass in the business. They have an amazing warranty, super clear glass, super helpful people that work there.
Also, if you want to rep some sweet Vortex swag like this warm shirt on a nice fall day, head over to Vortex Wear. Thank you. And use the promo code TFC20 for 20% off your purchase. Saddle game, you need to be in it. If you haven't been in it yet, then you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
Trophy Line Tree Sales makes some of the best saddles in the industry. They have 3 different platforms that we use and that are awesome.
I want to make a quick plug for the Wingman with a couple steps. You can take one less stick, and it's like a combination of a stick and a platform. I've been exclusively hunting out of it this year, and my mobile setup is so sweet. I'm very proud of it.
Awesome.
I highly recommend
Awesome.
the Wingman
If you're ready to pull the trigger on that and you want to get with James and do the Wingman, head over to their website and you can save yourself 10% on the purchase. TFC10 will get you that. I like to think I single-handedly got James to switch to compound again, but I'd probably be a liar and everyone would call me out on that. We shoot prime bows. We think they're awesome. Great accuracy, super shootable.
Made here in Michigan.
Made in Michigan, so we love that. It's hard to complain.
That's where Jared was made. So we
Surprisingly,
like that. Yeah.
you're welcome. So go check out these prime bows.
We are of a firm belief that the arrow is the lifeblood of the archery industry. We've said it 1,000 times. But in all seriousness, we are huge fans of arrows that are durable, that fly well, and that kind of make up for some of my inaccuracies in the way that I shoot. So we shoot Vector custom arrows.
The hammer.
The hammer.
That's Thor.
They are made in Wisconsin by our buddy Isaac. Great arrows. And if you want to go and get yourself some, have a little bit of a discount, use TFC10 for 10% off. Or call Isaac up and tell him we sent you.
Mm-hmm. You want his phone number? Comment below.
Yep, comment below. Yeah, so anyways, back to our story. And you guys jump in it, correct me if I'm wrong, but we headed from Bozeman to our first stop. And I don't know how specific we should get.
Give us the details, man.
No, I mean in terms of location, I don't want to give away specific areas, but
general regions.
We headed northwest.
Our first spot was the outskirts of Missoula.
Yep.
Leave it at that.
Yeah. And that was a good day because that was the day that kind of broke us in for all the hiking we'd be doing.
How long is that trip that you guys had to go 3 wide?
Well, the farthest
into the turn 3 wide.
What's that?
The first spot was only like 2.5 hours, but we ended up like 6.5 hours away from Bozeman.
Yeah.
Okay.
We kind of worked our way up the west. We're just south of Canada and like just east of Idaho. Almost said Ontario, Idaho. So we covered.
I'm fairly certain we never slept in the same place twice.
Yeah, we did. The one
Did we?
When we were over in where James shot his bear.
Yeah,
I think we slept there twice, but other than that, no.
Yeah.
So an active moving. You guys are just hopping around to different spots, just trying to glass something
at night. Obviously, to not burn any hunting light, and so it wasn't a ton of miles every day. I looked back on our my health whatever thing on my phone. It was like there's some days of like close to 10 miles, but it was a lot of incline, a lot of up and downing.
Now, James, you had obviously not done this before, but Joe, this is something that you've done previously throughout the past.
This is my 4th year doing the spring bear thing, and to your point, like the miles wasn't really too abnormal for what a spring bear hunt usually is, because it's kind of like getting to a location and then ridge running and glassing kind of thing. You're not covering the ground like we do on an elk hunt. Like a typical day of elk hunting can be 8 to 18, 20 miles in a day sometimes, but it's more active pursuing hunting rather than just kind of posting up and glassing like we did.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The first hike was brutal though. That first hike in we had all our camp on our back straight up. And I at one point I saw Ed's soul leave his body on the hike up. He was having an out of body experience as he hiked up the hill.
See, Ed,
if it didn't all leave on the way up, it certainly did on the way down.
The down was brutal too. The thing is, we're trying to keep up with Joe, who is
freight train.
No, I have to give it to you. You hike so fast. It's incredible.
It's the only thing I'm good at.
It's not a bad thing to be good at the whole time. I'm like that frick. So I usually pride myself in being in fairly good shape. Ed's in great shape. You bike a couple thousand miles a year. You are in good shape too.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I was sucking wind on that first hike up. And I was trying not to show it. I kept telling myself, be one of the guys. I didn't know how much Ed had hunted before, so I assumed Joe and Ed have done this before. I'm like, no, you're not going to be that guy that's slow in the back. If you have to puke, do it when no one can see, and just
act like you're coughing.
He didn't want to embarrass himself, but then he proceeded to pick up sheep poop and put it in his bino bivvy.
Did I tell you that? I did.
You didn't, and I'm glad you brought that up, Joe, because James has now started a very.
I've not said anything about that
no,
on the podcast.
I know, but I'm just letting everyone know you have a very diverse collection of wild animal shit that you.
Yeah,
I will be present for this event, but he's planning on burning them at separate times.
Just trying each one, burning them.
Because,
well, 2 things. First of all, I have bison manure, and that was used for cooking and stuff. I was like, I wonder how it burns. I've never done that before. The plains people. Don't give me that look, Joe. That's how the prairie people did it. I don't know. I read it.
You have
somewhere.
an iPhone. You're not a plains person, dude.
That's true. And then the other one was moose is supposed to have a pretty fragranty smell. And then so I started collecting that, and I was like, well, it's weird if you only have some poop. Like you have to cross that threshold where it goes from like a weird obsession to a collection. And so I figured if I start getting a variety, I'll be okay. So we were hiking out there, and all of a sudden at that first spot, Joe's like, oh, see that? Because he was kind of our mountain guide for a lot of the time. He's like, that's sheep poop, bighorn sheep. I'm like,
Bingo.
first I said I should really
Where's my
collect
bag?
I should really collect that. I'm like, no, I don't have anywhere to put it. I'll just leave it. And I saw it again, and it was eating at me. It was eating at me.
He said that he had a collection of it. I'm like, you were cracking these jokes the whole time. Like he's whatever. I just kind of shoved it off, and then all of a sudden I see you scooping it up into your hand.
You turn around and he's got it like starting to lick it or something. I don't know.
It's gonna burn. It's
Hey,
still
what-
in my pack. I forgot about it. If I'm being honest, it's in my vinyl harness on one of those side pouches. Totally, it's gonna be nasty in there.
You were gonna get a big guy the next time you look through your binos.
That's right. The Bob Costas.
God.
So you guys, all right. So you're finally up to your spot. You made the hike up. Take me through like what happened in the day. You're just sitting there glassing. I mean,
We got there late because we had some issues with the U-Haul, and I've got more to that story now. Believe it or not. Yeah,
What's that?
I got charged again for it. I'm dealing with it, but the people that of all the U-Haul places that I've rented from, whether it's Billings, another one in Bozeman, Colorado, Alaska, this one was the biggest pain in the butt. But that's a whole separate story. So we get up there late.
Mhm.
Later, we're still a decent time. We get there at like 2-3 o'clock, so we got most of the afternoon to hunt yet. And it's the very first spot that I've ever bear hunted. So 4 years ago we started in this area, and we ran into a couple of guys on the road with a side-by-side wearing camo and orange, and it was a father and son and another guy, and they were looking for a turkey, looking for a bear, and looking for a squirrel, they said. And
The big three, if you will.
yeah. So the little kid had his 22 or whatever, and one guy had a rifle, one guy had a shotgun. And I just kind of nonchalantly asked him, like, you guys been seeing any bears? Like, oh, there's one in my backyard on Sunday, and then there's always one up here. And he points up this hill to a bear that we saw 4 years ago and every year since, but for whatever reason just can't get him killed. And it seems like everyone kind of knows about this big bear. So shot up that hill, and then really pretty uneventful night. Realistically, I saw a little bit of elk, and then I saw one bear way down on the road on private, basically where we came from.
Sure.
But
They drove right next to where it was walking. Weird.
he was like 80 yards from some dude's shed.
Yeah.
So
We had mountain lion chirping. I'd never heard that before.
yeah,
Yeah, we get set. That mountain lion was pretty close. Had to be under 100 yards, wouldn't you say?
no, they're pretty. That sound carries in those canyons.
Really?
Yeah,
It's like a bird chirping. He's like, hear that? I'm like, yeah, it's like you have to Google it because I can't make the noise, but it's like a weird chirping noise that you wouldn't think comes out of this, like
Cat?
demon cat,
but then it played it for you on YouTube, and it's exactly what
Yeah.
we heard.
Interesting.
So it was sweet. Yeah.
So slow day to start out. You spotted one bear.
We glassed for like 2 hours, maybe. We weren't even, or 3 hours, a couple hours before it got dark. And then we were tired. We went to bed.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think we did much.
The first day was just kind of stretching our legs and getting used to hiking with weight. I mean, even I've done it a bunch of times, but this is the first one of the year for me, so I'm shaking
Sure.
some things too.
Yeah.
But the more that like I kind of spent some time in that country, it's like, yeah, we could devote a whole week to this place and probably turn up a really good bear. I know the one's there, and I've seen other bears there too. But everywhere you shake that shot, it's over 1,000 yards. It's just big. It's either you're on the same hillside as him, and it's like sub 200, which is really tough to do, and like keep an eye on the bear, drop 1,000 feet, come back up another 1,500, and he may or may not be there when you get there. He may or may not wind you. So your across canyon shots are just so long.
Mhm.
So like,
Well, and there's gusts of wind that'll sometimes be on one side and not on your side, there's a lot of factors.
it's tough. I mean, even in the country that we ended up in, there was some long shots in there, but not like this. This was just really, really, really big shots. And we weren't seeing much for sign. We saw some really old poop. We saw a little bit of green up, but we kind of had a heading of where we wanted to end up for this week. And I've never been way up into that region 1 northwest corner at all. And we all just kind of like had it in our heads. That's where we're going to end up, unless we really got into the bears first day there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We kind of knew we were going to move going into that spot a little bit. We had talked about it. Yeah. So we got up and then we needed sleep that night. We were pretty shot after that first day. Slept, woke up, and moved. I don't remember how far away we went that second day.
About another 2 hours.
Northwest again, more north.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
when we kind of were roughly in that Superior area, we'll call it.
Yeah, Superior. Not Superior for bears, it turns out, because I don't think we turned up anything there.
Wolves and moose.
Wolves, and that was the story of the whole trip. Lots of wolves sign. We heard them howl once, and tons of moose poop everywhere.
Yeah.
Never saw one.
I saw a cow and a calf when we were in that Clinton country early. I remember if I mentioned that or not. Probably not.
Did you hear that? I didn't remember hearing that.
I remember
I don't
that.
think I mentioned that, but I did see a cow and a calf.
That's cool. They're so cool to see.
So
Mhm.
day 2,
Mm-hmm.
you're in a new spot now, about 2 hours northwest or so from here.
Yeah. Superior region, just
Yep.
cruising.
So you guys are just kind of spread out along a range, or how far apart are you guys? Are you sitting right next to each other and just glassing back to back, or tell me the setup? What, did you guys just drop Ed off and say we'll see you at sunset and hope you
We
don't
did
die,
that.
buddy?
We did that. Kind of everybody got dropped off and picked off at some point. Like there was times where I hunted with Ed. There was times I hunted with James. We got into some of that kind of like logging road country up there.
Okay.
And there'd be a closed section or a section that you couldn't drive on, and one of us would break off and just go hike that thing and try to get onto. We were looking for clear cuts that were like, call it 2018 and newer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or any south or east facing exposure that would have had some green up on it.
Sure.
And when we kind of looked at an area on the map, we'd put the burn layer on. Sorry about that. Turn the burn layer on, or the
ears.
Yeah. Yep. The burn layer was huge. Like,
Yeah.
and
well,
so
you could just
the clear cut was even bigger because I don't think that country gets burned quite as much as the rest of Montana just because of how much moisture it holds.
Yeah.
But the clear cut layer or the timber cut layer was big. So we'd split off from each other. Two guys would go walking roads together and cruising roads or whatever. We didn't really have a game plan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those roads make it kind of tough to stick with a concrete plan because you go into an area thinking you have an idea for it, and then you're like, okay, all the green up is next to the road and there's nothing up high.
right.
Or vice versa. The road looks like shit, but the snow line's got some green up. You never know. So you just kind of roll with it. And I think the day that we went up into there, Ed and I kind of stuck together and walked the roads until we got the snow line. And then you went up into tick hell.
They went to find me and you guys turned around because there were so many ticks on the ground walking.
Oh, I've seen it bad before, and I've seen it worse than that, but they're not to the point where like you stop and you look at a rock and it looks like ants coming out of a hole. Like it was so many ticks.
I didn't see any of that.
I'm
I'm not gonna lie. I kind of felt a little grizzly-ish in there. So I was like, I don't know what's around the corner. I don't know really where I'm going. So I'm kind of on alert with my rifle out because I'm thinking I could pop out. There could be a hillside with a bear on it. So I'm not looking down. And they asked me like, hey, when we kind of met up afterwards, like, did you get any ticks on you? I'm like, yeah, I saw a few on my leg. Got one on my backpack, flipped it off. And then they filled me in on how many they saw on the ground. I was like, man, if I would have known that, I would have gotten out of there.
Mm-hmm.
That's just part of the game out there. Some places are worse than others. Like that was a nest of them. And I think it's because there was so much deadfall hanging over that road, and they were just piling off the wood onto us. But so we went up, checked on him because we kind of came to the conclusion that like that country we're just looking for green up. We're looking for cliffy stuff, and we're looking for stuff that's close to rivers. And like it looks one way on a map, and then you get in there and you're just like, man, just didn't feel right again. And that's one thing I kind of learned about bears is like if the area doesn't feel right, just keep moving.
Yeah.
Get there. So
It's a lot of country out there.
Yeah,
Just keep moving.
And we had wheels and we had time, so it was like, and we just were willing to do it because not every, we could have had it where one of us was not willing to travel, and that would have been a huge bummer. Like if somebody was like a stick in the mud about it, like let's just stay here. But we were all kind of, all right, well, what's over
Collective
the next hill?
effort.
Yeah, let's keep checking things out, which I like. I'm that way anyways, and we were talking a little bit about that where it's like I can't not know what's over the next hill, and that leads you often many, many miles away from where you started, which is kind of what we had.
Yeah, 1,608 miles is what we clocked on the truck. Sorry, 1,608 over the 750 that we agreed upon with the contract.
Yes.
Yeah, we take that.
Really pushed
Uhaul.
it over the
But
edge,
they
boys.
did say in writing that they wouldn't charge us for the extra miles.
Oh yeah, I'm already using that writing.
I knew you would. That was a good move. You screenshotted it. It was
Good.
Good
yeah.
move.
Oh yeah, we're disputing it, but
Yeah.
either way, we just wanted to see, like, every spot that we went to is a little bit different. The further northwest that you went, the more it kind of felt like not the Montana that I'm familiar with. And Ed's done some hunting in Montana too. He's elk hunted with us the last 2 years, but it's all been in the same mountain range, kind of more central Montana. So this is way, way different from the central Montana and the southwest Montana that I've kind of cut my teeth hunting.
Awesome.
I liked it. I liked
Good.
it because we've talked about this. We all on the way home, but you're not as far above sea level. Like the only Western experience I had was hunting in Colorado. So like you start, at least a mile high if you're literally coming out of Denver. But I started at like 10 and was between 10 and 12 a lot of the times when I'm walking around. And that's like hard on, at least it was for me. It was like, it took me a little while to get my lungs acclimated to it.
Mhm.
But here the mountains start lower, closer to sea level, and only go, or at least where we were, maybe to 8,000. I don't know that we even got that high.
No, I think the snow line was pretty much right around that like 69.7 mark down where we ended up. But there it was like you'd start at 3,000 feet and you end up at 55. So
Yeah.
That's not bad then.
No.
That's doable.
it's still like a lot of climbing, a lot of gaining elevation, but it's not like a lung thing as much as it is a muscle thing.
Yeah, legs.
And the biggest difference I noticed about it is just the sheer amount of deadfall in that country. Just disgusting.
The freaking deadfall, man.
That last day was just, what do we call it? 1,000 feet of hands and knees. It was just bullshit.
Over and under and around because we
Trying to climb a rifle on your back and like going under a log jam with a rifle sticking up. And
it was not good. So anyways, a couple days go by. We just kept running that same script.
Mhm.
Move, find a spot, look at the map, lots of map digging around. We stop at a bar maybe at night with our car, talk to locals, did a lot of that kind of thing just to see texting people who might know, just getting any intel we can in the areas. Cause like you said, you can see it on a map, but until you get there, you don't know what the green up situation is, where the snow is. This is, really a little earlier than probably we would have chosen. But just due to scheduling and stuff, it was our week to go.
Realistically, it wasn't as bad as what I had kind of anticipated, though,
Yeah.
as far as timeline goes. A lot of that country was greener than what it was the year I killed my bear last year, or that time frame last year. And I think if it wasn't for that little late snowfall that they got in a lot of the country that I usually hunt, realistically, we probably should have just gone there. But
Yeah.
whatever. It was cool to see some new country, and I'm not like too butthurt about it because I wanted to get up that way anyway. So
Yeah, and it was helpful for me to go to places that were new for you, to just see how when you go west, how do you pick apart a new spot? What are you looking for? I didn't know any of that for bear hunting. This is a totally new style for me. And so it was, just from my perspective, I don't know, there's just no better way to learn it than just be next to a guy
do it.
who knows,
go for it.
So did that for a couple days, and ended up in the spot. We can jump to the spot where, I ended up
Yeah,
shooting the
dude.
bear.
Let's dive into this kill.
So the day before we found this logging road that went way up a mountain, had a bunch of snow pockets on the way up. So you couldn't drive all the way up. You could see some dude try to take a side by side and even had to turn around. So we kind of hiked all along and looked over a canyon onto a next hillside or mountainside, kind of across, spread out that first day. I think we glassed for like a long time that day.
Very long time.
The tripods, I think, at noon, and quit at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Had service though. It was kind of nice.
It was nice.
I was able to
Is that
kind of
when
check in
you-
with the girls.
Is that when you
and
FaceTimed?
I FaceTimed Jared
Okay.
for a minute. Yeah, I was like, hey man, look where I'm at.
Showed me that view. That was I'm a little jealous of that, fellas.
I'm surprised that he didn't see any bears. He was FaceTiming the whole time.
That's why I was just like this.
I'm his good luck charm. So
I was like, hey,
guys, check this out.
yeah. Hey, followers, I'm doing a live Instagram. I'm out here in Montana. Yeah, it was. But like, if you had to spend 9 hours just outside looking at something, man, you couldn't hardly pick a better thing to look at.
Yeah, it was pretty nice out there. Very different country than I'm used to.
Yeah.
So how long were you there until you spotted him?
Well, that first day we didn't. We went back to camp. We're like, man, let's poke around in the morning. We're gonna hike up this hill, this mountain, kind of spread out again. Check out one spot. If it blows, we're getting out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So we walk up. Ed had this spot where he kind of looked. The road was below him, and he could see this far hillside, which actually had a lot more green, probably where he was than where me and Joe ended up.
He was actually looking from the south-facing hillside at the north, because we were looking at stuff low in the north-facing hillsides, and like it looks greener over there. But like everything you hear about bears is like, get on the north, look south. Get on the north, look south. But it just looked greener to the north. It was little cuts and parks and slides where you could see into them. Like maybe they're just hanging out in the timber and eating on these little strips of grass in there
and poking out in those little pockets, you know.
So you couldn't see as much, but the stuff you could see looked fairly promising and easier shooting, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're looking for the green grass. You're looking for those glacier lilies, which they're just like little yellow flowers.
Okay.
And then these like wild onions. We saw that you're that one bear looking at eating those.
Skunk cabbage, really.
Yes. Yeah. Then so we dropped him off, and Joe and I were like, all right, you take kind of this spine going up a mountain, I'll go on this one. We're gonna hike up and then kind of look out opposite ways. And so at least for me, I got all the way to the top. Took me forever, you know. So tired to get to the top. I'm like, crap, I can't see anything. I can't see through. It's too thick. It's just not what I thought it would be on the way up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what you'd think of when you get to a mountaintop with a ridge, because it was almost in that area. We get like the halfway point where we've climbed 1,000 feet, and it opens up and it gets kind of nice and green on your side. And you're like, I could see a bear at any time at 200 yards somewhere on my side, but I can't shoot across this canyon anymore. And if I go any higher, then I lose anything that looks good. But if you go on the north side, look back at what looks good, you have nothing. So it was just, you get to the ridge and there's more timber on the ridge than there was halfway up the mountain, which is just really odd. But usually it's kind of like on a ridge, it's a rocky cliff and then a big drop off with all the timber starting on the north end of that. And it just wasn't the case in this spot. So I think we sat up there for like hour and a half, 2 hours. And I called you and I'm like, man, I'm just not feeling it. And again, that's just one thing I've learned. If it's not feeling right, just move, keep going.
Stay mobile. We always talk about that. Mobile mindset, be flexible. Don't be so rigid and attached to a plan. Because again, you get out there and it's like, this isn't right. I got up there. I'm like, I can't see anything. I'm going down. And you talk to him. He decided to do the same thing. And I learned about shale, these scree fields.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, I'm going to go down. Oh man, the only way right now where I'm at is to go down this. And I took a picture I can show you, but it was literally the entire walk up. I kind of looped around, and my only way down was just
shale wash.
And it was just like step, slide, step. And it just sucked. That just sucked to go down.
It'll make a man out of you in a hurry.
Yeah. It's a lot of talking to yourself. Like, all right, it was just like, no, just one more, just keep walking, Find that weird song that always gets stuck in your head when you're hiking. I don't know if you ever have that, but if I'm like out hunting or hiking, there's like a weird part of a song that's always on repeat in my head.
Just a jingle.
That, and there's a voice that tells me to burn things, but I think that's totally different.
He was live and active that trip.
No, so we walked down. And we're like, man, I don't know what to do. And Joe's like, well, all right, I'm going to go back up where we hunted the day before. We kind of spread out. And I'm going to go even farther up. And you made it like real far, way farther and way less time than I thought.
6 miles up that road. So this road kind of tangles around the face that we were initially glassing on. And then you can actually take that same road. It's not a closed road, but there's enough snow on it that no one's driving on it. Mm-hmm. And where everyone stopped, you can kind of see where people were hunting up there. There's some guys from Minnesota. I made it like another 3.25 miles up around that to look back at that south facing side. And right about the time that I was like taking the sticks out to put my 15s out and start glassing. I get a text from Ed, and I forget what it was, something like score one for Team James or something like that. And that is the weirdest way that I've ever heard someone say it. Like, score one for Team James. What the hell does that mean? I'm
Yeah,
like,
Team James,
we
man.
got a little intimate in the truck on the way.
homos are down there making up little phrases with themselves. So I
Wait,
call-
who would be the homo? I mean,
Hey,
guilty by association,
You know what?
if anything.
Beauty's beauty, okay?
It's 2 to tango.
Exactly.
3.
So it was fun. So we dropped him off, and as I still don't know how you got up 6 miles that fast, but
I
me
got
and Ed are
down
like,
a lot faster.
yeah, I know. Well,
I was like skipping down the road in joy.
because at the moment he hears we shot one, the dude just throws everything in his back, just runs down the hills. What, 6 miles?
I'm like, don't cut it up. I'm on my way.
Which I love. I love that was like, man,
You gotta
thing I
wait.
love
You gotta
about
wait
ya.
for. You gotta wait for the boys, man.
you do.
gotta
I
wait for
mean,
'em.
so the funny thing is, so Ed and I get in the truck and we're like, we see this place where it's actually private, comes to public, and we surmise that perhaps bear were kind of coming down and maybe at night digging around in this area, this private area. And so we're like, hey,
Game.
what's that?
The old dumpster game.
The old
Mhm.
dumpster game, a town bear,
Mhm.
you know. we're trying everything, you know, learning as we go, and maybe one would come out. And it was a nice hillside that would be kind of coming down to it. We're like, this could be sweet. Who knows? We're cruising along, and wouldn't you know it, I come around the corner. I'm like, Ed, bear, right in the road, eating grass on the side of the road.
Heck yeah.
So I pulled. Go ahead, Ed.
Brakes, all stop,
Yeah.
throw it in reverse, and you get it because we had come just around a corner where he was visible, and we backed right up. So we get out of the truck, right? And we get all ready. There may have been a couple conversations on who was going to potentially shoot the bear,
Flip a coin.
Yeah.
and we get all ready, yeah, and get out of our truck, and we start stalking.
Yeah.
Like, okay, right around this corner, no bear. So of course the bear moved. So what do? Let's go back to the truck, drive through nice and slow, and see if we can find out where the bear went. So we do that, cruising slow. We're looking to the right because we saw the bear on the right side. We're both looking to the right, no bear, no bear. I glance over to the left where it's up a mountain, and there he is looking right down at us, right off the road. So I'm like, right here, James. So we keep going, get out of sight, and stop.
It's the old
I'm
drive
gonna let
past
you-
and
Oh,
walk
yeah.
back.
Yep.
It's a classic tactic.
That'll trick them.
Yeah.
I don't usually
it's your
care about
story.
video or audio at all, but I would pay an exorbitant amount of money to just have the audio of the conversation.
Pure
That
chaos.
thought.
Pure chaos.
He's just talking. Where did he go? He's on the mountain. No.
A lot of
No, it
four-letter
was super
words.
calm.
Go.
Yeah, it's like shit. You know, like, and for a while I'm like, well, who should you shoot the bear? Or should I shoot the bear? He's like, no, you saw the bear. You shoot the bear. I'm like, okay, all right,
Deal. Okay.
all right. I'm not gonna argue.
Yeah,
And
not
like,
you.
so I grabbed my rifle and we finally.
James was standing on Ed's rifle case, so he couldn't open it. That was
No, you didn't.
Yeah, that's right, sucker.
No,
I threw
this
out one of my.
rookie. Pop, pop, pop.
I threw a quick lock on his and lost.
It's
that
a weird situation, right? Because I didn't know, maybe he doesn't want to shoot the bear. Maybe I should shoot the bear if he doesn't want to. I'm like, well, but if you want to, you may.
Yeah.
Okay, I do.
A
I
lot-
want to.
This happened in the span of like 3 seconds, like a lot of. Brr, brr, brr. Okay, so we get out, we come around. I see the bear. We kind of work up the hill. See him right there. I'm like, all right, I'm standing. I have nothing to rest my rifle on. He's in the open, and he didn't really see us. I'm like, all right, it's got to be like, I don't know, 70 yards maybe.
What
That
a chip shot.
The first shot.
Mhm.
And I'm like, all right, boom, miss. Totally missed him. Missed high. Free, just easy rifle shot in the chaos, and just apparently being a terrible shot. Missed high. Reload, blast him, and he basically eventually expired. I shot him twice, 3 times. Just he kept moving. I'm like, I'm just laying him down where he's going. I'm not messing around.
There was at least 2 shots after the fact because I was on the phone with Ed.
Yeah.
He's, wait, hang on a minute.
Yeah, you can hear. He's on the phone hearing.
Hang on. I'm like, what is going on down there?
World War III.
As they say, things got a little Western out there. But
Lever gun.
yeah, it was just like whatever. So we get so we finally shoot him. go up, grab them, start hauling them down the hill. And right as we get to the bottom, these people who were out in that area on vacation with their family, these two guys and their families had taken their boys and left the women back at camp or wherever they were. And we're just cruising this mountain road in their Suburban. And they stop and we're just sitting there with a bear. So they all get out, there's two beautiful men, Ed. I mean, they had finely coiffed. They had a mustache like yours. They had all these nice clothes on. And we were all smelly dirtbags at that point.
Definitely from California.
Yeah, definitely. Right. And so they come out and their kids are like, blew their mind. Like this bear is sitting there. So they're digging around in the bear's mouth, picking his paw. It was like, I thought it was really cool that those kids, because if I was 10 and you showed me a dead bear, I would have lost my mind, having never seen that before.
You'd have asked
Photos were taken.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get them, we called Joe, and in the time that,
did you run the whole 6 miles and were you out of breath?
It was all downhill at that point. Really, the only hard part about that is the snow, because I was like, that section that you walk through, it's like post-holy weird kind of step crunch snow.
Yeah.
And you can plan it going up, where if you walk in the middle, then you can kind of stay on top of the ice. But when you're running downhill and you're not paying attention, it's like it's a nightmare.
I would have paid to see the video of Joe running.
I just picture arms way up high.
Yeah. It was a sight. I was still hand carrying my rifle just because I'm like, they must be on the roads tonight. Why not have my rifle in my hand? So,
and that's part of it too. Like, part of it we've kind of figured out is just like be ready, because you just don't know.
You could kick something up.
So like you not only made it back, but you made it farther than where we dropped you off. In the time that it took for us to get that, which actually was way more difficult getting him the couple 100 yards to the road than you would have thought.
Yes.
Like it wasn't this 10-mile pack out,
just barreling.
It was
down.
trying to grab a full bear ungutted because he wanted us to wait down the hill. It took a while. Yeah, exactly.
You call it a hill. It was not a hill.
Yeah, it was not
very steep.
Very steep. It was like,
I saw the picture.
Yeah, very steep. And the picture that one of the things I appreciated most about Ed in this entire trip, and there's a lot, but one was the picture that he took of me made it look like we were way. He wasn't trying to be deceptive.
You're telling me it was staged?
No, he just like took a picture and it like happened to look like I was way out.
I mean, you're looking at like almost like a 30-degree hill face, mountain face.
It was
right.
Well,
and that was accurate.
There's a road 200 feet below him.
Right. Yeah, we were
realistically though, that's 90% of bear hunting, I think, is guys walking or cruising roads and then shooting from said road.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good strategy. You cover a lot of ground. You see a lot of cool stuff. But so anyways, we get him into the truck. By the time we get in the truck, drive up, Joe has run so far, he ran past where we dropped him off and like made it. Again, I was like, how did you get this far that fast? But took pictures, did the whole thing.
Magic.
Left him in the truck and then just kept hunting, tagged him up. And obviously, and then
brought him into town.
No, we threw him in the back of the truck, kept hunting, dude.
Well, I'm saying after, like sundown.
Yeah, sundown. Yeah, we hunted that night, and then
first is we bombed back out because
that's the night we saw that sow too, right?
Right.
Yes.
So we went back down low, close to where they shot that one, and I'm like, well, if they're down low, let's just keep cruising this country down here. And we actually drove out to go into town to get ice, I think, for your bear. We did or a cooler.
Overpriced cooler. I was chapped about that.
Yeah. So we grabbed a cooler, came back into the mountain road. As soon as we got back in there, we're like looking at how green it was and how open it was in this little timber cut area. And then all of a sudden, my mountain road hunting isn't quite as fine tuned as these guys. I see a bear like 80 yards off the road, big cinnamon bear, and just cram the brakes, lock it up, like gun cases sliding into the back of the truck, making all kinds of
you hit your face.
There's a bear, put it in reverse, back up. Where I could have just done what they did and creeped past it, gone around a corner, parked it, probably got a better shot, but I'm like hopped out. I'm like, Ed, get your gun right now. So
yes, sir.
We creeped up on it, and it was like my first impression, like you don't know for sure until you actually get like a good look at it. But this thing had an ass like a dump truck.
Yeah.
And usually when that's the case, where the prominent large portion of the bear is the rear end, it's a sow.
That booty.
So but just like glowing borderline strawberry red cinnamon color, just cool
Sweet.
bear. Yeah.
No cubs or anything, so perfectly legal.
Yeah, solo. So, but we kind of creeped up with her for a little bit and just never, we see her kind of weaving through the timber. And then right when we got up onto the kind of little first knoll, the wind hit us in the back and trotted off. So,
Yeah, that was a cool spot. That was a really pretty spot.
yeah. Yeah, we ended up sitting in there the rest of the night, just kind of like waiting to see if maybe she'll come back down and feed off the road, or we could see across a little bit from there and end up seeing some elk, but
Nothing.
Yeah.
nope.
Shoot, they came out at a weird spot, and actually one had some looked like it'd be gonna be a nice bull, starting to get their antlers growing in already, which is cool to see.
Yeah. That area doesn't have a lot of elk, but I've heard some pretty good bulls getting killed out of that general region. So
Yeah.
Very cool, fellas.
Yeah, then we headed back to camp, cut it up, and had some. I had a can of wine. Can of wine. That's my. If you ever can't sleep when you camp, you get a can of wine. You're gonna sleep after your can of wine. And so I had one. I'm like, no, this is a celebratory.
How many days did you guys put up with this idiot?
well, I actually thought of a previous podcast that we did at James' house when we were talking about every time he cuts something up, he cuts himself.
Oh, dude. Don't
That's
get me
not a
started.
lie. He butchered his hand cutting this
Opening
bear.
the can? Or but
No, opening the can. Shut up, dude. No, it was cutting up the bear. Yeah, I think right here. I bled like you wouldn't believe.
well, he usually goes just Freddy
Yeah,
Krueger.
I'm aware. It was like Edward Scissorhands on this
Mhm.
poor bear. He's like, oh, another hole in the hide. Oh, another hole in the hide.
Oh, come on. It
Up.
was way better than when I did the other bear. I'll say that.
It's an art, It's almost like a
It's a beautiful thing watching me do it. It's like, those guys with the ribbons that they wave around. It's like me with a knife.
and then slowly cut yourself.
Yeah, just slicing my hand up the entire time. Nicking the hide.
So you got the cooler, packed it up. Did anybody else get anything? Ed, did you get one at all?
I do not.
No. Did you get did
Nope.
you see any while you were out there? Or?
So that sow that we stalked was my closest opportunity. I don't think we saw another one until later, much later in the trip.
Okay. Shoot.
Yeah. We found
But turkeys and elk and grizzly sign up for that.
so many turkeys. We should have brought a shotgun.
Should have brought me.
Should have brought you. That's what I've been saying. But the turkey situation where we were was exciting. I actually have a video you calling of one. Got him to answer a little bit.
Because Miriams are not intelligent birds.
No.
Could you have gotten a turkey tag while you're out there?
Yeah. But we didn't have you can't use rifles, obviously. You can in the fall.
Yeah, that's probably true. You can, right?
But
Take
we
a
were like,
300
man,
Win
I would
Mag
love
to
to
it.
blast one just to have some camp food, some fresh
I
fresh
would have
turkey.
shot one if it was legal, just because. But
Yeah.
Blammo. All right. I want to know, just because we're kind of
Wait, we have one more exciting
one more good
adventure.
little story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last day.
Okay.
And we do this then. We repeat all of these things the next
Wash,
couple days.
repeat.
Driving around.
Drive, glass.
Even headed back kind of in toward where we took off the last 2 days and like hunted there around there for a while. And we had one last night. We're like, all right, we got a hot tip from a friend. Headed up a mountain and split up. And then so Ed stayed back kind of getting ready. He actually got all this stuff lined up, which was nice for us to leave.
What a
And
guy.
I was in Bozeman having barbecue and beer.
He
I was
was.
gonna say, you're a smart one.
Especially because I was so jealous. That was like the most tired I had been after that, and like so hungry. Like I dropped you guys off and went to Walmart that night. I literally, as I'm walking, I'm like deliriously hungry. Found a bag of chips, opened it as I'm
You
walking
found
around
it?
in the store.
Okay.
And I ate this entire bag of chips just walking around Walmart. I get to the end, I have an empty
I've
bag.
done that. Some people frown upon it, but it's like,
You know what? I'm an
I wanna
adult.
pay
Just
for it.
leave me alone. I'm hungry. I look haggard at that point. But anyways, we split up. And actually, yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I texted a buddy in Bozeman. I've got quite a bit of friends there from over the years. I'm like, hey, I've got an evening to shoot a bear before we get on the plane tomorrow at like 6 a.m. So any recommendations? He's like, yeah, go to X Trail, get up on the ridge, work that system all the way back to the main ridge and glass to your south. and there's usually some bears in there. So we got in there at what, like, I don't know, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, something like that. And he's like, usually they start popping out that 7:30 mark, but they don't really leave very far from the timber. Like they'll poke out of their drainages, feed on that, and they'll disappear back into the timber, but it's usually later. So we shot up the trail a little bit, grabbed 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 feet somewhere in there, got on this ridge, and then ridge walked for like a mile-ish, a mile and a half. And there was a little opening on the ridge where I told James, like, kind of, we'll just split up. You sit here and glass this. I'll go up another half mile, get up there, glass that. If you see something, run back and grab it, kind of thing. So I set up and start glassing, and I had service in there, and I actually took a phone call for some reason. I'm just kind of hand holding binos as I'm on the phone. And right as I'm like wrapping this phone call up, I'm like, all right, talk to you later. And I see a black blob, and then put my phone down, get back behind the binos, and the black blob was elongated now, like it obviously moved. And this was an area that didn't have any bird whatsoever. So there was no infamous burnt stumps that looked like bears from half a mile away.
Which got me all trip all the time.
The burnt stumps.
Yeah.
So instantly I'm like, bear. And it was clear back the other direction that we came from, even past James. So I start sprinting down this ridge when realistically what I should have done is slow down, take a picture of the mountainside where the bear was, and just like kind of come up with a plan. But it was like, we haven't seen a bear in 3 days, and it's the final countdown here. So I'm run all the way back down to the ridge, get back to James, and like, bear, 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 right there, right there. And I'm pointing the direction to where he's at. And he's like, I can't see him. There was like one little section of trees that was blocking him. All he had to do was take 2 steps to his right, and it was bear, clean as.
Yeah.
By that point, 2 other guys had the same idea. We're pretty close to Bozeman, so there's going to be other people in there. Shot up the ridge, same idea. Right as soon as I get back to James, those guys are coming up the same ridge, and I'm like panicking, thinking they're going to try to beat me to it or something, which they weren't. They were super.
They were cool. Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're just here for the show now, kind of thing. But in my mind, I'm like, this is my one chance. I'm not going to let these guys beat me to it.
Sure. It was a good bear too.
It was a very, very good bear.
Big bear.
Big. So I'm like, he's right there, James, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I dropped down off this hill, and the whole climb that we went up the south side of the slope was clean, wide open, not a lot of timber, not
Super
no
nice.
fall, no snow. As soon as you get on the north side, it is a snowy deadfall jungle from there.
Yeah.
Where we came back up, there was no snow, but when I initially dropped, really bad snow. So I'm falling all over myself. I'm dropping stuff. My phone got soaked and was like shutting off and doing weird stuff. And I'm like trying to figure out where this bear is again, because as soon as you get in there, you're just blinded with timber and deadfall. Everything looks different. So finally I like get out to a knob. I'm like, okay, I remember that rock. I remember there was this little triangle of timber that came down to it. He's to the left of the triangle somewhere. So I went another like 400 yards to the left, and there was this little knob that kind of poked out outside of the main slope. So it got you out of the timber just a teeny bit.
Sure. Got
out to that thing, and I'm glassing, I'm looking, and I'm like, that is the spot he was at 100%. I'm on him. He's not there now, but that's his spot. And it's 4:30.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yep.
Early. We got 4 hours yet. I'm like, he's gonna come back. So I drop my pack, I range the opening, it's like 682 or something like that.
It's a good poke.
It is, but yeah, that was the other conundrum here is I'm like, do I try to get closer where I'm above him right now? If I get to the same elevation as him, then I'm worried about him catching my wind, or if I drop any elevation that I lose him. So it was kind of one of those things, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
But so there's so much snow and deadfall on this knob that you can't just like lay prone and have any shot because there's so much stuff in it. So I'm grabbing rocks, I'm grabbing logs, and just trying to stack things up so that I can get a solid rest. And it just wasn't happening. I probably spent 5 minutes trying to stack stuff. I look back over there and I'm glassing, just waiting for him to pop back out. And then I see a little dark spot inside the timber, but it was smaller than what I expected that bear to be. So I just kind of like brushed it off and ignored it. And then I looked at it again. I'm like, it is black as midnight. Like,
It's got to be.
unmistakably has to be him. There's no burn here. There's nothing. Like, what else could it be? So I just slowed down and got on the glass and just watched it for a second. And all of a sudden, this long black piece that was leaned up against this tree that was kind of swooping. If you remember that tree,
Oh yeah.
all of a sudden a foot goes up in the air, stretches, and then you see his toes do this, and he picks at his toes. He was just sitting there snoozing the whole time. I'm up there rummaging rocks and logs trying to get a shooting rest like an idiot, and he's sleeping. And no clue. So I'm like, I went from thinking I need to do this now to I have all the time in the world. He's just snoozing to,
Right.
but what if he wakes up and he walks, continues the direction that he was going? He's out of my life completely, because not only does it go into timber, but it also rounds a hill. So I'm like, I need to find a way to shoot him where he is right now as soon as he gets on his feet. So I took my trekking poles, looped them, crossed this, got my rifle up on that, ranged him again, spun my dial for the range, and then got my pack kind of up underneath this. So I had something up against too. I was kind of in some deadfall. I felt pretty good. And by the time I got somewhat situated, I'm like, all right, now I can just wait and kind of catch my breath, calm down a little bit. I peek back through the scope and he's standing. Like, so I get leveled, spin my parallax, and I look at the wind, and I've got a crosswind on my left side that I called 10 mile an hour.
Sure.
I felt, and got back under the scope, and he has walked about another 5 yards deeper and then turned perfectly broadside this way, maybe a little bit quartering away. And I'm like, it's in the moment I thought it was now or never. Looking back, I probably still had all the time in the world, but like,
You never
Yeah,
know,
but you
though.
don't know that.
You
Especially
never
with
know.
bears. They just do their own. They're not like deer where they're just very predictable. Bears are just doing stuff.
and if he goes any lower, he's really down. Like we walked through that bottom, there's no way, not
Nope.
a chance. It is Willow Creek bottom, like you're not seeing 10 feet in that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it is now or never, is what I convinced myself of. So I put the crosshairs on him and I held it a little bit for the wind, and I shot. And as soon as I shot, he shot up a tree, which is what the bear I shot last year did, and then fell out of the tree dead.
Yeah.
So I cracked another shell, and I kind of came back down onto him, and I'm looking for him, and he scoots back out of the tree, and he's kind of facing away from me now. But I'm like, I thought I hit him. I'm gonna put another one in him. So I just sent another one in there, and I think both of them, now looking back, were hitting to the right of him, because as soon as we dropped down the canyon and came back up onto his side, my 10
Crosswind over there.
What's that?
Was there a crosswind over there?
Well, there was a cross on my side that I was holding for, but not anything close to what it was on the other side of the canyon.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
710-yard shot. And on my side, I figured it was about 10. Over there, it was like 30, 35. Like
It was
Oh,
it was
geez.
whipping at times. Oh yeah.
So we looked for blood for quite a while, followed his tracks going up the hill, looked at the tree that he climbed. Like there was just zero indication that the bear was hit. I didn't hear a report, which usually you can hear pretty good at that distance, especially. And just kind of came to the conclusion that we missed him. But I don't know. It was still like we talked about it right afterwards. That was the most picture perfect way that I wanted the bear hunt to go. Like spot him, make a big move, have it suck, kind of figure it out. I just, that 2% of actually shooting the bear wasn't there. So it is what it is. I'm happy.
But
That-
that might have been my
that-
favorite night though.
That is a freaking cool
far.
story, Joe.
Yep.
It's a lot of stuff people, imagine what bear hunting is. Like
Yeah.
exactly
exactly right.
what you're talking about. And
Picture perfect. That's what I've been dreaming of for
Yeah.
months. I wanted that exact thing to happen. Just
Well, that's funny because the whole time I'm not near Joe. I stayed
that's sweet.
to watch, and so I'm watching this bear, and like while he's walking, I just am sitting back, and I got my phone attached to my binoculars, and so I've just got it up like my phone here, and I've got it even plugged in, so I had no battery issue, and I could just see him moving across the country
Mhm.
on my phone. I'm like, this is so cool. You can see him like, I don't know, just doing bear stuff. He could picking like little flowers up and eating it, like digging, just like lightly digging for these little wild onions, and just like poking around.
yeah,
What's that?
just flipping rocks over and
Yeah.
checking stuff out.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. That was really cool. And then so I'm just enjoying that. I see, as you said, he kind of went over this one rocky area to another, and then there's a patch of this timber. Well, he went over the second where he ended up going to nap, and that's where I lost him. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to stay here because if he comes back out, at least I want to have eyes on him in case Joe loses him and comes back or who knows what. I'm sitting there, and that's when I hear the boom, boom. So I make my way over, and that was a sucky walk out that night.
So when we dropped down, like even dropping down to get to him sucked because of all the deadfall and the snow, and it was just like dog hair thick with waist high deadfall that crisscrossed. It was just brutal. We got down there, got up onto that side. We're running out of water because it went in really light. And we were just like, we put eyes on the area. We were pretty confident that it was a miss. Became really confident that it was a miss later, and then kind of got a little bit deflated. Got back down into the bottom, and then quickly realized like this was still an amazing trip.
Yeah.
Oh.
But the deflation hit again when we tried to get back up the hill. We walked this creek bottom for a couple hundred yards. Like maybe we'll just take the creek bottom out to a spot, and this deadfall will kind of clear out, and we can come up there. It just got worse, and we were seeing dead elk with grizzly shit everywhere, and I'm like, yeah, we gotta get out of this creek
fresher grizzly sign than we had probably seen. Maybe not. Maybe it was fresh.
It was less than a week old, for sure.
Yeah.
And
It'll wake you up.
We found this I posted it today, just an elk ear, like a whole thing, like a whole ripped apart elk, and then just one ear laying there. I'm like, hey, Joe, look at this. It's just like it was just cleanly ripped off right at the base of the ears. It's
awesome.
so weird. Should have taken that home.
Make a
That's not poop.
coin
It
purse out of it
it
or
would
something?
not work in my collection. It's not poop.
It'd have been less weird than poop. But long
Fellas.
story short, we just kind of bombed out of there.
Yeah,
It was.
flew back. Oh, the other thing on the flight back, I forgot ammo in my carry-on. They were not.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, Edward's giving me a hard time, but the people on the Bozeman airport, apparently that happens quite often. They're like, well, do you want the bullet? I'm like, no, keep it. You can have it.
You can keep it.
They've seen a lot of stuff, I'm sure, go through that airport. Like I put a whole elk head as a checked bag, and nobody batted an eye at it.
Yeah,
That's
checked. Yeah, flying with meat was super easy through it. The trick that we kind of figured was kept it cold with ice, kept it dry, drain that, threw dry ice on it like a day and a half before we left.
Mhm.
And if you put, and I found this at camping, if you put it on the bottom, it keeps everything above it cold, and maybe the bottom little end freezes. But if you put dry ice on top in the cooler, everything below it freezes like solid. And so
Cold air drops. I could believe that.
yeah, it froze everything nice. Like so much so that when I got home, I could hardly get the tooth out that I had to send in. It took me a while. I had to thaw his head back out a little bit.
Yeah, don't forget to send those teeth in. I
You did.
had a friendly call from the West Virginia Department of whatever.
Natural resources.
Yeah, I had a conservation officer call me. He's like, did you send a tooth in? I'm like, no. He's like, I think you should have. I'm not going to send you to jail or give you a big fine, but next time, just send your tooth in, buddy. It's like, okay.
I had a similar
Sorry.
story, but mine wasn't quite as friendly.
No.
No. What's funny is I even told them, like, or when I called to check the bear in, because of COVID, they weren't like physically checking in bear hides and sealing them. So
Yeah.
I called them, like, do we have to check them in this year? Nope, just got to call it in. You're good. Okay. Get home a month later and I get a call like, hey, did you shoot a bear in XYZ Canyon? Yeah. Did you check it in? I'm like, obviously, you're calling me. How else?
Yeah.
would
Mhm.
Well, yeah, you're supposed to seal the hide and get the tooth pulled. And I'm like, well, I called the lady and she said we didn't have to. Oh, well, they don't work for us. That's just a third party like data collecting agency.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Such
Yeah.
baloney.
Big ordeal, but whatever.
Thankfully for mine, I only had to do tooth in my area, which was nice. You got that little behind the incisor.
Oh, yeah.
You just I
Yep.
had to cut it around and use a plier, a screwdriver to just pop it out, and teeth come out pretty easy. Turns out it's kind of weird.
They're not connected by much.
No, you can get that thing right out. I could take your tooth out real quick if you needed.
I like my teeth.
It
like
matched
my
my
smile.
mustache. You're missing a tooth.
Yeah.
Little stash going.
That's
I'm
a good
I'm gonna
tooth
keep it,
protector.
fellas.
You
Yeah,
could have
so-
a fully put Marlboro Red right in there, and he'd be just
I got a cowboy hat upstairs. I sometimes walk around the house. with
Really
it, just
tight jeans too. That's the really tight jeans, the mustache, the cowboy hat, and
the butt heavy.
that's the butt heavy.
pull it off.
Yeah, you really can.
Thanks, guys.
I'll
I
give it to you.
appreciate it.
He needs a little encouragement every now and then when it comes to facial hair.
Wow.
It's Ed's mustache that is dangerous.
I'll show you a picture of it. Hot dog.
Yeah, hot diggity.
I think we should do that for the next bear hunt.
Agreed. Which
That's
we're
what-
already planning.
If we're
Done.
doing the lever gun thing, it's got to be mustaches and mud boots. Is the
I'll
name.
be your huckleberry.
Dude, the best call I received this whole week being back, and I told Joe this, like every night since I've been back, I've had dreams like that we're trying to figure out where, you know how you have dreams when you're focusing on something for a long time, sometimes you dream about like, where's the bear going to be? Where do we go? So I like the first handful of nights that I've been back, I just keep having dreams like that because apparently it was stuck in my craw. But Joe gives me a call a couple days ago. Hey, was it yesterday? How about another bear hunt next June? I'm like, I'm in. He's like, well, we'll go to Alaska. I don't want to know anymore. I'm in. Doesn't matter where. We're doing it again. But we're talking about doing a little Alaska lever action open site. Get a boat and get out there.
Dude,
Cordova.
I'd be game for that.
Would you?
If
Yeah,
y'all
right.
are
Yeah,
hap-
right.
If you'll have me, gentlemen.
I feel like you're all talk with that big mustache.
Yeah, I know. He
Well,
grows a mustache. Suddenly he's got a pair. You know,
if you would have seen the beard last week,
was it nice?
it was there. It was there.
Yeah.
But
He grows
Yeah,
a good
as
beard.
good as that thing.
it was time. It
Must-
was
must
just
be
time to
nice.
get rid of it. You know, once in a while, it's good to have. But I walked out of the bathroom with this thing on, and my wife looked at me and she goes, "No," just one word, just no. Mine like, "Yup."
You just sealed your fate.
That makes me want to have it for 3 more weeks now. So I'm having it. But gentlemen, it sounds like this trip was very, very insightful. A lot of ups and downs, if you will, both emotionally and physically, moving in hills and getting on bears and having that experience is just, that's awesome. So I'm super pumped that you guys got to go have that, and hopefully there'll be many more trips like this, and that you guys can help everyone listening here if they wanted to go do that on their own.
Yeah.
You know, they can listen to you guys and hopefully glean a little bit of information if they wanted to go and do that. So
Could not have picked 2 better guys to go with. I mean, just a great time.
awesome. That's
Absolutely was.
good.
I've had trips before where like you come away with like, yeah, maybe I'd hunt with that guy again, maybe not, but I would share a camp with you guys any day, all day.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
fun.
You know, they might have different words once we're stopped.
Yeah, that's right.
recording.
When it's not, these guys are
Screw
the
these
worst.
assholes.
Yeah.
Never.
But no, we appreciate you, Ed, for coming on and at least talking for a little bit too. And Joe, same with you. We've recorded you with a couple episodes in the past. We always appreciate you guys coming on.
You'll
and
be
for
coming back.
and for putting up with Jim for a week straight.
Somebody has to
guys
babysit
now-
me when Jared's not
You guys
around.
now know my pain that I have to go through day in and day out.
Hey, I was pretty impressed with how well he did. I'll be frank. Like he was both of them step for step. Did really well.
You start with the bar low enough. You know
I
what I'm
was
saying?
Surprise, yeah.
Everything's high.
Everything.
Yeah.
That
Nobody
was my dating kind of strategy.
Well, good. Like I said, I appreciate you guys sharing the experience, at least with me, because I wasn't there. I didn't get to hear it, but it sounded like an awesome trip. So
At home shooting Jakes, which we'll be talking about on the next episode. He's been trying to hide it. He's so embarrassed about it. Like, own your Jake.
leave that for the next. Leave it for the next one. So we appreciate you guys coming on, and yeah, we'll chat again soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.